Hey y'all, Noah. Everyone who reads it must converse, and welcome back to another author spotlight. This time we're gonna hit Chuck Palahnuik. So I don't see a lot of talk of Chuck Palahnuik on BookTube. Maybe maybe he's not a very well liked, as among the booktubers that I follow, kind of stuff. I don't know. Maybe he's just too gimmicky for a lot of people. I don't know. You know, I was at a point in my life where I just read a lot of classics and a lot of just literature, general literature. And then I got to a point where I said, I want something modern. I want some, can I get a modern author, And I loved Fight Club, the movie, of course. And so I started reading Chuck Palahniuk. And I read almost everything that Chuck Palahniuk has done. And so let's get to it. I'm going to talk just on a few, like some of my favorites. But so I already showed Fight Club here. This is one of those rare occasions when I actually think they did an amazing job with the movie. Such an amazing job with the movie that that I like it maybe better than the novella, because this is very, very short, less than 200 pages in my edition here, and it definitely doesn't have the impact. David Fincher's an amazing movie maker. Edward Norton is one of my favorite actors of all time, that kind of thing. So I mean, it's a great movie. And then Snuff. So when it comes down to it, Chuck has his own little he has his own little formula for writing, or at least he did. We'll touch on that in a little bit. But most of Chuck Palahniuk's books follow the same formula. He takes a pop culture theme, and then he has a twist that you never see coming. So, this is a nonfiction. This is a nonfiction collection that he did called Stranger Than Fiction. You see the whole layout there. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Stranger than fiction. Truth is stranger than fiction, right? So this is just a little bit of his stuff that he has come across in his travels. This is Damned. There's actually a second part to this called Doomed. And I saw an interview a long time ago where Chuck Palahniuk said that this was going to be part of a trilogy, and I was really excited about it. But when it comes down to it, he hasn't finished it. This is like Breakfast Club, the Breakfast Club, in hell. The Breakfast Club meets Dante's Inferno. That's what Damned is like. And it's entertaining. It's cool. But, what's his big idea with it? Well, he hasn't finished the trilogy out yet. Doomed takes it a little bit further. And then I think that he just kind of has got to a place where he can't, he can't reconcile. He doesn't know where to go with it. But we'll see. We'll see what he does. One of his first novels that I definitely enjoyed, but this one is shows his his young writer style. The plot kind of falls apart sometimes. It's a little bit hard to follow, but it is an enjoyable romp, and does use his formula there. Invisible Monsters. There is another version of this called Invisible Monsters Redux. I've never read it. When it comes down to it, I think he rewrote it because of the because this book here does have those kind of parts that don't really hold up narratively speaking. Could have been done a lot better. And then there is Choke. This was made into a movie with Sam Rockwell and Angelica Houston. And again, the movie is fantastic. I love Choke. It's hilarious. It's fun. It's funny. And ultimately, a kind of a heartbreaking story, but also a story of redemption. Very, very, very cool. And I'll talk about this one a little bit because I do like Choke a lot. Um, One of my favorites of all time, maybe either top number one or number two, is Survivor. Survivor is fantastic, and I love this cover too. This beautiful, plane with the flowering around it. I love this book. This is something that really this is one of the ones that really got me into Chuck Palahnuik when I first read it, and then I just read a whole lot of his stuff. Survivor's great, and then probably my favorite of all is Beautiful You. Beautiful You is fantastic. This is, think 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey meets the apocalypse. That's what this is. It's awesome. All right, so I've actually experienced and read a number of other books that I don't own. Pygmy. Pygmy is very fun. Pygmy is like Salt, if you ever seen that movie with Angelina Jolie. It's about sleeper cells. A sleeper cell that infiltrates the United States government and has a plan, but these people don't even realize it themselves. They've been indoctrinated since they were young, and their memory is woken up by a word, a certain phrase or something that kicks them into activity. So, Pygmy is great. It is kind of anticlimactic. So, I don't own that one. I did it on audiobook back in the day. Haunted. Haunted is one of his earlier works. It's definitely very shock value oriented. It's kind of like a, a reality television show. Reality television is the kind of premise, Like I say, all of his works grab a kind of a pop culture theme, and then along with exploring that in a very Palahnuik way, there is a twist that you never see coming. Another, his most recent book, Adjustment Day, I despised it. I actually, it was my worst book that I read last year. I was looking forward to it as well. I mean, because I've read so much Palahnuik and all that kind of thing. But he broke from his model with that one. There is not a twist, and and the premise. The premise is all right, maybe, but when it comes down to it, it just doesn't have a lot of substance to it. It's very shallow. How things work out or not, even the kind of things that he means to do in there in order to be interesting or edgy or something. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all for me. So first off, let's just kind of get into Choke, because I love Choke. This is an amazing book. Now the differences between the book and the movie are numerous. Just because in a book you can keep going and explore different avenues, and in a movie you want it to hold together a little bit more so that the watcher really feels for the characters and gets a sense of a character, whereas in a book here, there can be just characters after characters, and kind of throwaway characters, but they have their time and place, but you don't have to worry too much about making things work. So there is a narrative in the movie that is touched on a little bit but not really played out, and it is the narrative of his Victor Mancini, the main character that's played by Sam Rockwell. His best friend inherits a plot of land, and he starts building something on it with his hands, like with rocks, just starts building, and he's helping him do that. And so that narrative and that tying into Victor Mancini's what he does is he goes to a restaurant, a very upper class restaurant, and he actually chokes himself with a piece of food. He sucks it down his windpipe and will pass out and will potentially die if somebody doesn't come over and save his life. He does that on purpose, and he kids himself into thinking that he's doing something good for other people. And is he? In a way, it's ultimately self-serving for sure, because he then has these people who take care of him, and he knows how to psychologically manipulate them to continue on the hook with him for years, giving him money, giving him support, and all that kind of thing. So that is his kind of shtick in this. He does have a job. He's an Irish indentured servant on a kind of farm and thing in Virginia, where they recreate old American lifestyle. So it is very fun. It is very cool. There is a lot of narratives going on in this. I haven't touched on the mother, who is he's supporting his Alzheimer's mother that is in an old folks home. And is it his mother? She's a complete wild ass, and it comes out that she's just been in and out of his life his whole life. She's not a real mother to speak of, but she's his only parental figure. He grew up an orphan other than her, and she orphaned him. She abandoned him, but she keeps showing up and keeps him kind of on the hook throughout his life. So this is a very heartfelt story. Chuck Palahnuik did a very, very good job with Choke, because it really plays on a lot of real emotions and things that people go through. So there it is. Now, Survivor. This is a beautiful, beautiful book. Survivor is the story of a death cult. There's a cult where, think of, Amish people maybe. They are they take care of themselves. They're like off grid. They don't need anything. They have their own, place to live and all this kind of thing. But everybody's indoctrinated. It is a suicide cult. They are all going to commit suicide at the same time at some future date. So he is part of this cult, and they indoctrinate a child all the way up until 18 or so, and then they get this person who's been trained in a trade and all this. They get him a job, and they place him in society. And so he's living, and what he's doing is he's taking care. He's like a cook, a chef for a very well-off family, a wealthy family. He's a chef for them. And at some point, the time comes for the death cult to do their thing, and he doesn't do it. He doesn't kill himself. So he becomes the survivor, the only survivor that is out there of this death cult, and becomes a kind of a celebrity figure. And he's celebrated, and he's giving talks, and he becomes, rich. But he also has members of the cult who actually, their job is to make sure everybody does what is required of them, commit suicide, that are after him. So it is very satirical, very funny, and it is a critique of celebrity worship, is what it comes down to. This is a very awesome critique of celebrity worship. Highly recommend Survivor if you don't have any experience with Chuck Palahnuik. So, my favorite, Beautiful You. Oh my God. Just yes, 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 yes. All the way. Now, this is a very, a very edgy book. It's not going to be for everybody. Chuck Palahnuik is not for everybody. Point blank. But I love it. when it comes down to what this is about, like I said, it's like a 50 Shades of Grey. So we have a very hypersexualized male figure that is super rich, but he's not hypersexualized in the way of, bondage or S&M, like 50 Shades of Grey. He's actually a master at pleasure. And what he's doing is he's developing this line of adult toys and things like that ultimately these women just cannot get enough of, and they actually are secluding themselves and just staying in this ecstatic state. His company is called Beautiful You. And so he takes for himself a wife, a lover. And that is the main character that we're following along with him. But we're really following his lover. And she is very much the same as, the girl in 50 Shades of Grey. An innocent, kind of naive female that's just really at his whim. Now, how it plays out is very, very different. And the climax in this book is the best, as far as I can say, the best climax of any Chuck Palahnuik novel. So it is very, very fun. The end of it is just like a mind blower, and it's done so well that a reread is due for this one here. The little quote on the back, billions of husbands are about to be replaced. These Chuck Palahnuik is very much my kind of candy read, something that's going to give me just be a fun read, just be something that I read for full pleasure. And I'll close it at that. If anybody wants more and you want me to kind of dig into any of these texts, I'll do a review on any one of them and really get deeper into it, including Pygmy, including Adjustment Day. Although it's going to be a rant review if I do Adjustment Day. Let me tell you, it's unbelievably bad. But along with these, he did some graphic novels of Fight Club. There's sequels to Fight Club, and he did the sequels to Fight Club in graphic novel form. They're enjoyable, but not really my thing. I don't know if Chuck Palahnuik has really grown well after his initial getting famous and making and writing some really awesome books. Now he's just in a place where I don't think he knows what he's doing or how to really do it and move forward and grow as an author, because the kind of things that I've read recently, his Fight Club 2, sure, but Adjustment Day, it just fell off, man. It's so just let me know what you think, Book 2. Holler at me, any questions, any comments, and I'll get into it a little bit more. But Chuck Palahnuik, he's one of those, just a fun run, shock value, yes, some more than others, but always fun, always a killer ride. So catch you on the next one, Book 2. Thank you.